Welcome back to What's the Story. I am Dan Kennedy, and I am joined by percussionist, producer, and often band leader Mike Dillon. Mike, thank you very much for taking the time and joining me.
Great to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So tonight you're touring with Les Claypool and the Fearless Flying Frog Brigade. What instruments are you featuring tonight? And did the vibraphone come out on tour?
We got the vibraphone, we got the xylophone, we got the timbales, the tabla, the bongos, and say tabla. You got the tabla.
Nice.
Yeah, so we got the arsenal.
All right.
Yeah,
so,
yes indeed.
So for the last 6 months, you have been doing a grueling tour with Nikki Glaspie and Brian Haas.
Yep.
You've been touring promoting Inflorescence.
Right.
Put out by the Royal Potato Family Records.
Great little label.
Great label. On that tour, you're playing pretty much every night for the last 6 months, and you're playing 2 sets a night. You're playing 2 to 3 hours per night. Your stamina is amazing. You're outworking people half your age. How do you do it?
I take my vitamins and I work out.
Yeah?
You know, but a lot of it's just keeping a good attitude and going like, all right, I can do this. Because there were definitely times on that tour where I felt like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
Yeah.
You know, even like that tour I saw you, that was routed pretty well. But there were moments like at the beginning of, end of January, where I drove all the way out to the East Coast through a blizzard, met up with the boys in La Special, this new band we have called Feckin' A, and we did 3 killer shows. Then I had to hook it down to like Asheville, North Carolina, or somewhere, Raleigh, and we started the Inflorescence tour back up there. Went right to the Jam Cruise. Then when Jam Cruise was over, went right over to New Orleans, did Mardi Gras, and from that went up to Denver, and then had a day to get back all the way out through another snowstorm to the Northeast. And I'm fine, Nikki and Brian in, and it's grueling on them. But I was like, selling the merch, driving the van, and playing every night, and somehow I pulled it all off. April, I took a little time off to get ready for this tour.
Yeah.
But we had Jazz Fest, like right leading up to this.
I wanted to ask you about that.
I did 23 gigs and
the stamina of this
21
man.
gigs in like 10 days or something.
And again, how did you pull that off?
I don't know. I mean, one of the gigs was a flying date to play with Fucking A in the middle of Pennsylvania, this great festival, a little small festival, my favorite kind. And literally, I got there at 1 a.m., set up, played, then drove right back. A car nearly drove head on into me, and I slowed down. Luckily, it got back in this lane, one of those back little roads by the festival. Was on a plane in Baltimore 2.5 hours away by 8 a.m. Made it and went right to Jazz Fest and played 2 gigs at the fairground that day. I was 5 minutes late to the first show at 1:30, but landed at noon because the flight was a little delayed. And I didn't know how we were going to do it, but somehow it all worked out, and it was a lot of fun. And
you mentioned this year's Jam Cruise, but next year you're doing Jam Cruise again. Advertisements are already out. It's February 25th through March 1st.
Yeah, it's going to be later, after Mardi Gras this year, so that'll be nice. Get my little break after Mardi Gras.
So what are we going to expect from you on a Jam Cruise? Do you dress up like a pirate?
No, absolutely not.
No?
But I do play all the time. I end up sitting in with all my friends, and we have a good time.
Yeah. But
they got me leading the Super Jam. I guess it's the 20th Jam Cruise. The first one I did was with the Fearless Flying Frog Brigade back in like 2003 or 4.
Yeah.
I guess it was 2003, and since we took a year off, that's why we're just now to the 20th one. I don't know how it works. But the spirit of it is, a lot of bands that you're friends with, a lot of bands from, like Galactic and Carl Denson. And that first one was like Galactic, Carl Denson, Les, Dirty Dozen Brass Band. And I can't even remember the others, but it was a real small boat, and we all just played with each other all the time.
Yeah.
It was really good.
That's awesome.
And Les made a joke. He was like, 20 years from now, you and Skerik will still be doing the Jam Cruise. And here it is, 20 years later.
Nice. So this is the Fearless Flying Frog Brigade. But you played with Les in the Fancy Band.
Yep.
You've been in Bastard Jazz.
Yep.
You've recorded with Primus.
The Wonka thing.
And I want to know, why does Les have you on a speed dial? Why does he call you on this tour right now and go, let's go back out on tour?
Well, I know I played we're doing for this tour. We're doing music from, Purple Onion, the
The record you recorded
the
with.
animals thing,
Yeah.
the live animals, I wasn't on. I joined right after that.
Yeah.
I was coming around, sitting in with them at that period, whenever I'd cross paths, and then, you know, I recorded Purple Onion with him, and then I just sort of, he liked the sound of the xylophone and the vibraphone,
Yeah.
and so it's just that history. So, and I'm glad he calls me. I don't know why he calls me.
And on this tour, he's got you doing all kinds of covers. Let's talk about your relationship with Pink Floyd's Animals. And I want to know what you're going to do with a song like Pigs. Are you going to beat the hell out of something on Let Us Hear You on that one?
I'm actually, you'll have to see it, but you know, we're mainly doing Les's original stuff on this tour.
Really?
Yeah, just, you know, Animals, you got to remember those records back in the day, they were 32 minutes of brilliance.
Yes.
It wasn't like this CD era of like bands recording and putting 70 minutes out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the good thing. We're doing 32, whatever it is, 34 minutes. I don't know. We stretch it a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But it's nice. You know, it's super textural. Sean is killing it. We got, you know, the guitar solos. And I mean, I'm sort of like the auxiliary guy. It's really, it was a good challenge. It had me terrified. The whole thing with the vibraphone and the way I do it. I mean, I want to, a lot of times, and what's great about this tour, I just want to fit in and be a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, like with a trio like my band, it's like, you got to fill up a lot of space and do everything.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can just with the vibes, put a little phase pedal on it and just hit those big power chords just to give it more sound.
Yeah.
And I think that's been, you know, sort of my concept for the Floyd. But we're, you know, I'm playing the songs down, and then, you know, on all the, like McAllister, you know, they've been posting the set list, but we've been doing a nice diverse set.
Yeah.
And it's just a ball, you know. I'm glad that a lot of the songs I played on the record, so there's parts that I do, and and in the spirit of improvisation, like there's less always pushes you. You know, he'll joke with me. I'm just like, whenever I'm playing with him, I'm just trying to keep up with him.
Yeah, I bet.
You know?
So you're playing with amazing musicians.
Yep.
What is it like to look over and see Sean, offspring of John Lennon? Are you intimidated? Were you when you met him?
Not intimidated, just I'm a fan of him on his own, you know, his own music. I mean, I was a fan of all the projects he had done, many of them leading up to when the first time I met him, when they started the Delirium when they played in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And then those friggin' Delirium records are awesome. I mean, I was texting Les going, I didn't say it, but in my head I was like, man, I'm sort of jealous that I'm not on this shit, because this is badass.
I am jealous.
But I'm stoked that, I mean, and, you know, like when your friends make really cool records, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Like, what's your latest record sound like? And that's why I like Les. He just keeps creating and making new records, and he's a great songwriter. So, like, the Delirium came right after we did that Primus thing. You know, I did the Willy Wonka Fungi. I was in the Fungi ensemble. And the next thing I know, he had this thing with Sean going.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow, this is really dope. So, you know, Sean's just, to me, he's just a great all-around musician. And then when he sings, you're like, ah. I was telling him last night, I was like, man, you can sing. All I can do is hit on fucking metal bars. And if I sing, I sound like a fucking drunk pirate. You know?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it's great. I love it.
Can you give us an update on Skerik? Is he going to be on the tour at all?
I don't know. I mean, it's a real bad medical situation, unlike anything I've seen of any of my friends. But, you know, that's the thing now. Like, we're all getting up in the years. A lot of us are, I mean, I'm 57, Skerik's 58. I just hope for him that he heals. I mean, the last time I heard, there was no diagnosis other than really, really bad pain. Like, the dude loves to play.
Yeah.
I've seen that I've been on gigs with him when he was dying of the flu and could barely walk, and got on stage with Critters bugging and played his ass off. You know, same thing with the Frog Brigade 20 years ago. You know, it's weird. The last time I was here with Skerik, it was the day after Lane Staley died, and he and Lane were pals, you know, and we're just like talking about that shit, and like,
He played on the Mad Season record.
yeah, he's on that Mad Season record. So for Skerik not to be playing, you know it's got to be bad.
Yeah.
Because the dude plays all the time.
Well, Mike, it's wonderful to see you again, my friend.
Great to see you, Dan. I appreciate you,
Thank you for
brother.
having me. Thank you for joining us.
We'll see you later.
Leave us your comments below. Let's have a great conversation about Mike here and Les Claypool and Flying Frog Brigade.
Come out and see us on tour this summer.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Mike.
My
Appreciate
brother.
it, man.